Here's the complete narration script, 886 words. The creeping reason your own backyard could already be hollow, and you would never know until the ground gave way. In 2012, in Bayou Corne, Louisiana, an entire neighborhood vanished in minutes. Trees, a swamp, a stretch of road swallowed whole, dragged straight down. That was 13 years ago. Scientists have watched it every single day since, and right now it still refuses to stop growing. Underneath you at this exact moment, there could be a void the size of a cathedral, and no seismograph, no home inspector, no app on your phone would ever tell you it's there. That's the trick sinkholes play. They don't start as holes. They start as absence, rock quietly dissolved, salt quietly mined away, water patiently stealing what held your world up. By the time a crack shows in your driveway, the emptiness beneath you has already been spreading for years, invisible, patient, unpaid for. Bayou Corne is what happens when that hidden theft finally runs out of room to hide. Here's what actually happened. Half a mile under that quiet Louisiana bayou sat a salt dome, and inside it a cavern carved out by a company drilling too close to its outer wall. That wall failed. The cavern collapsed in on itself, and the ground above followed it down. What opened on August 3, 2012, was barely the size of a football field. Residents were evacuated that same night, told to grab what they could carry and nothing else. Nobody has lived there since. The sinkhole didn't stop at a football field. It kept eating outward, acre by acre, plunging past 750 feet in places, until it swallowed more than 37 acres of cypress swamp, an area larger than 28 football fields and still expanding. Here's the part that should unsettle you more than the size. Louisiana isn't unusual. Salt domes like this one sit under towns across the Gulf Coast, parts of Texas, Michigan, even beneath cities in Germany and the UK, hollowed out for decades to store oil, gas, and industrial waste. Engineers assumed the walls would hold forever, the same way you assume your own foundation is solid because nobody's ever told you otherwise. Bayou Corne proved that assumption wrong in a single night. And here's the pattern interrupt nobody wants to say out loud. Once a cavern like this fails 5,000 feet down, there is no repair crew on Earth that can reach it. You cannot pour concrete into a hole that deep. You cannot weld shut a wound in solid rock. So scientists did the only thing left. They started watching. Sensors track methane bubbling up through the water because the collapse cracked into pockets of natural gas that now vent constantly to the surface. Crews measure the sinkhole's edges every week because the salt around the original cavern keeps dissolving, keeps giving way, feeding the collapse from underneath like a wound that won't close. In its first 2 years alone, it swallowed acreage faster than anyone predicted, and even now, over a decade later, the perimeter still creeps. Not dramatically, not all at once. A few feet here, a slumping tree line there, slow enough that you could stand at the edge and feel nothing happening, while underneath you, rock the size of city blocks continues to fail. The company responsible has paid out settlements totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. Homes have been bought and bulldozed, one by one, until the neighborhood simply stopped existing on any map. An entire community was erased, not by an earthquake, not by a storm, but by an absence nobody could see until the day it announced itself. The same kind of absence that could be widening right now, quietly, underground you'd swear was solid. And that's the part that should follow you home tonight. This isn't a freak accident confined to one Louisiana bayou. It's a demonstration of what happens anywhere a salt dome, a limestone bed, or an old mine sits beneath solid ground that people built homes on top of, trusting the surface because the surface looked fine. Florida sits on limestone riddled with these same hidden voids, and new sinkholes open there almost every year, sometimes under a bedroom while someone is asleep in it, sometimes under a car in a driveway, sometimes under a pool deck mid-afternoon. The warning signs, hairline cracks, slow draining puddles, doors that suddenly won't shut right look like nothing. They look like a house settling. They almost never look like a countdown. So scientists keep monitoring Bayou Corne because monitoring is the only tool left once a collapse like this begins. They can chart it. They can evacuate around it. They cannot stop it, and they've said as much publicly. The dissolution will likely continue for years, maybe decades, until the salt finally runs out or the cavern finally settles on its own terms, not ours. Nobody can tell you which year that will be. Which raises the question nobody at that company, or in that state, or frankly in any government agency once asked out loud. How many more of these failing caverns are sitting right now under towns nobody's watching yet, quietly dissolving, waiting for their own August night to arrive?